Right after the unveil of the Mustang Mach-E, there was a lot of skepticism about Mustang aficionados towards the full electric SUV version of the iconic car, and yet, according to Ford, the day after the unveil, the new model was flying out the door. This did not come up as a surprise to Ford executives, as for the last 2 years the company has been re-engineering itself, and the Mustang Mach-E is just one component of an offer which will include hybrids, full battery and hydrogen vehicles, and for which Ford plans to invest $11 billion by 2022.
Ted Cannis, Ford Motor Company's Global Director of Electrification, gave details about the company's strategies behind the launch of the Mustang Mach-E at the Barclays 2019 Global Automotive Conference. Ford made available the webcast of the presentation and will report the extended highlights.
We have been very clear since the process for a couple of years now that we're going to be investing over $11 billion in EVs by 2022. That's hybrids, plug-ins, and full battery electrics. And that is different than some of our competitors. Part of that difference, and I'll hit it now, is not everybody is ready to go full battery electric. Many of you are not ready to full battery electric. Maybe you're afraid of range, maybe a whole bunch of other host of things. It really doesn't matter. Maybe you live in one of the apartment buildings here and there's nowhere to charge. We see opportunities by doing all of them. And if we're going to fix the climate problem on the planet, which we at Our Science says there is one, then we need to do our part. And that means more people with better fuel efficiency will matter.
In talking about past projects, the Ford executive said that they were very green-focused or very expensive, mostly with scientific purposes. The charging wasn't there, or it was very slow, and the education of customer was poorly understood, as shown by research carried out by Ford.
We did a survey earlier, about 1,000 people in the U.S., 1,000 in Europe, and 1,000 in China. And things came back like 42% of people thought that full battery electrics need gas. They don't. Many people in Europe, I saw another one, that hybrid vehicles need plugs. They don't. 2/3 of people said, I can't go on a long trip, which was in the survey at 3 hours, on a full battery electric. That was 60% of the people. And 80% of the people said, well, doesn't work in extreme weather. And maybe that's because they're from New York or Boston or something. They had jumper cables one time and they remember their issue with the 12 volt. It really doesn't matter where the perceptions come from. This is what happens. But those things are changing. Right now, these customers are super geographically concentrated. California, I just checked the latest numbers of BEV penetration here in New York. It was 0.65% year to date, which is nothing. So that's not even early adoption. That is no adoption. So let's now talk a bit about full battery electric. Why is it now, or we see it, is a good time now? First, the cost is way down, but still expensive. So cell cost versus, let's say, a Focus Electric to the Mustang Mach-E that we just launched, we're much lower cost now. And the amount of energy that you can pack in a small space is much higher than you could before. In the past, if you look at a Focus Electric or the old plug-in Fusion hybrid, you're using a lot of trunk space and passenger space to fill up the product with batteries. You don't need to do that anymore, and you can give it back to the customer in ways they've never had it before.
Because of the number of new nameplates, one might think that all battery electrics are the same, and therefore cars are easy to produce. Clearly it's not the case, as many projects fail, and besides, they're not all the same. How much range? What kind of motors? The electrical architecture that you put into use, apps and trade-offs, safety systems. All of this is very different by manufacturers.
ExpovistaTV follows several auto or consumer electronic shows during the year, and we always see a few new concept cars or new electric vehicles introduced in the market. Apparently what we see is just a sample of what is about to come in the next few years. Take a listen.
So this is what's going to change quickly. And when you look at our numbers, what we see around the world, we see the U.S., this is competitive nameplates. When I look at the business I got to fight through here, 100 net new competitive nameplates by 2025 was our latest estimate. And we're guessing about 8.5% full battery electric here. And you go, well, that's a lot. Even if it was half that, it would be a lot versus today. Europe, 150 nameplates. China, 350. Maybe 15% of the industry, maybe 14%. Again, it's a lot. And the government incentives play a huge role. The batteries are going where the incentives in the financial or non-financial, if it's HOV lanes or financial state incentives or Norway state incentives, that's where the batteries in the vehicle go. So for our standpoint, that means a lot of new designs and a ton of new marketing pushing products and names and nameplates. So what are we doing in that kind of environment? So what's the key 4 things? When we changed the strategy X years ago in 2017, we said we would play to our strengths. Pickup trucks, commercial vehicles, performance vehicles, utilities, the things that brought us to the party where the customers are loyal, the margins are better, and we can make the business work better. Second, we said for a couple of years now we're going to build on iconic nameplates. Well, now you know what that means. It's going to be called a Mustang Mach-E is what we just launched. We're going to have an F-150 battery electric vehicle. No confusion required. If I say Mustang, you say fun, fast, free performance. If I say F-150, you say built Ford tough. You know what it's supposed to do as a customer, and I know what to do to give you, but I got to make it better. If I'm going to get you to come from petrol or oil to electric, I need, as always, a lot of Europeans this week, sorry about that, but I need to give you a reason to come over. So I got to give you the performance and torque that you get in the vehicle. I got to give you more capability in the vehicle. I've got to give you new usable spaces. So that's part of the strategy as well, is give you more. Leveraging scale. So the new Mustang Mach-E is one of the 5 flexible architectures at Ford. It's one of the 5, and that means it's flexible. It could do more than the Mustang Mach-E. It's got the battery in the middle, protected on the side rails. There are motors in the front and back, so it can have rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive in 2 versions. And this is part of the strategy, that flexible architecture to gather scale, battery scale, sharing the same batteries across multiple lines and the arrays so that you don't have to rework it and you can get more scale in the negotiations with our friendly suppliers, insourcing motors and gearboxes, and a lot more tech innovation throughout. How do you squeeze out every amp that you already have in the battery? That means a lot of decisions on aerodynamics, on weight trade-offs, on climate decisions in the car, because you don't have an engine anymore providing heat. All of that has to be done in a new way and rethought to get every amp out of it. It's kind of like you ever saw Apollo 13 where they're trying to get every amp out of that. That's what we do. So let's start with it. Part of it is bringing these new customer experiences to life. You gotta have it one. So cloud-connected experiences must have software over-the-air updates, securely provided and at the determination of the customer. Got to have new usable spaces that's been liberated up by having the battery underneath and in the right spots. Possibilities to do exportable power. All of that, it can be done in battery electric vehicles. And you can amplify things people already love. You can make driving more fun if you choose to put in the batteries and the motors and the system to do it, because there are some battery electrics that aren't fun to drive. You can make design choices. You can do some great things with proportions. The powertrain obviously is quiet. The cost of ownership, in our case, we're a commercial company. We sell a lot of vans, 50% of the van business in the U.S., a lot of pickups. Same in Europe, we do very well. Focusing on the commercial customer who has telematics data and can do all their math to see how far they're driving every day. They know their routes, how match it, and it's a very easy cost of ownership problem. So we got to get that done. And obviously they have no gas. Absolutely, people who own these things, that's one of their favorite things. You can't believe it if you've never owned one, but that's what people like. So amplifying those great attributes that you already have. Another thing we're doing is we are rethinking. So when Hackett created Team Edison in summer of 2017, he said, look, we need to have a startup inside Ford that's rethinking all parts of the business globally, not little pockets of this and that. And you're going to all co-locate in this refurbished factory in Detroit, and you're going to be there. Advanced manufacturing, marketing, sales, IT, software guys. You're going to have product development, design, the whole team. And you're going to rethink how we do the vehicles, end to end, to leverage this new capabilities. If not, you get the same designs that you had before. If this is how we did the hoods before, that's how you're going to do the hood again. We have to rethink everything, and the weight and other trade-offs are totally different. Old rules of thumb math don't work. Everything we get out of that battery and e-drive to make it a great driving experience with a low center of gravity. Manufacturing for tomorrow. In the assembly process, it's totally different. So if you're in a body shop, it's the same, and the paint's about the same. But assembly and end-of-line testing are very different. In this vehicle, on these kind of vehicles, you can cut out 50% of the assembly floor space and investment. I don't have any putting exhaust up. There isn't any. So it's a lot simpler, but you have to rethink that process to get the most out. And it's about 30% less assembly labor. So we're working through all the factory tomorrow, and I have this living vehicle that's electrical powered and giving off signals of how it's living through the line. Then we have to rethink the entire customer journey. If this is like you, a tech-savvy person who is on the edge and wants to lean into technology and lean into battery electric, they're doing like you do. They have a Nest, they have a Sonos, they have a Ring. They're living a digital life, and they expect the purchase process to be digital. But it's a complex, not well understood decision, probably the most expensive one you do beside a house or a boat. So you want someone to help you along the way, and that is where the dealers come in, both on the sales side and also on the service side, which is critical, and I'll get to it in a minute. And then ongoing, the process is new. With cloud connected, when you opt in, like you do for your phone or something else, if I want to give you product and performance enhancements, or if I want to give you upgrades to the product early on before there's an issue, if your car is leaning to the left, why do I have to tell all cars who don't need to get their wheel alignment done? I just want to fix yours. That whole process with the reinvention of data coming off the car is key. And then we don't have a charging grid for petrol vehicles, or in this case gasoline vehicles, again, and we have to work with a grid. Quite a few of these on small part of the localized part of the grid. It puts a lot of demand pressure on the grid. We have a lot of projects with the grid right now. So a complete end-to-end, and as the customer goes through that journey and that data comes off the cars, which are now cloud connected with over-the-air updates and full modems, then the company can learn and make it better to maximize operation in all the conditions that you have. This is what has to be re-engineered, and this is what we've been doing the last 2.5 years.